All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here. If you're able to, if you could please stand and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance, my favorite part of every meeting. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. For those I haven't met yet, I'm Ben Diederich, your District 2 City Council member. It's an honor to serve you, and I really appreciate you taking your time out of your evening to join us tonight. We have a lot to be proud of in our community, and also a lot we're continuing to improve. Tonight is about sharing some updates on where we are, where we're headed, and the work we're doing on your behalf. I'm encouraged by the progress we're making, whether it's in public safety, infrastructure, or strengthening our neighborhoods, and by the level of engagement from residents like you. That involvement truly makes a difference. I'll walk through a few key updates first, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion at the end. I want to make sure everyone has a chance to be heard and that we have a productive, respectful conversation. My commitment to you is simple: to be accessible, transparent, and to keep working hard for District 2 and our entire community. Thank you again for being here, and let's get started. We'll start with some staff introductions. If we want to go down the line and everybody introduce themselves, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Kayla Charters. I'm the Economic Development Director here for the City of Menifee.
Hello, everyone. Orlando Hernandez, Community Development Director.
Good evening, everyone. Mariana Mitchell, Community Services Director.
Good evening, everyone. I'm your Acting Chief of Police.
Hi, everyone. My name is Armando V. I'm the City Manager for the City of Menifee.
Brian Jones, Assistant City Manager for the City of Menifee.
Good evening, Rebecca Kramer, Assistant City Manager.
And good evening, Nick Fiddler, Public Works Director for the City of Menifee.
Thank you, everyone. As you can see, we have the complete staff here, so any questions you have should be no problem getting them answered. Armando, do you want to start off with an initial message?
Thank you, Councilmember Diederich. Again, my name is Armando Villa. I'm the City Manager for this beautiful city, and I want to thank you today for taking the time to come here tonight. This is our second town hall meeting of the year, and the intent behind us holding these town hall meetings is to be able to have one in at least every district, and the intent also is to be more approachable to the community. I think we have our city council meetings, we have our city hall, and we run through our normal agendas and business every 2 weeks at City Hall, but we wanted to be able to hear from the community in the districts. Those people that don't have a chance to visit and go to the city council meetings, we are coming to them so that we can hear more about their concerns, comments, or any other issues that we may not know of. We don't have eyes everywhere. We have 330 employees, and we have a lot of employees that drive through our city, but we don't have eyes everywhere. And I want to reiterate that you guys, we welcome your comments and things that you notice around our community that we don't, so that we can address them. As you can see, we have representatives from every department. All these people that are here are department directors. They're experts in their respective field and public works and finance, PD, fire. We don't have fire today here, do we? No, we don't have fire. So again, our primary intent is to be able to hear from you directly. If there are issues out there that we don't know of that we need to address, and this team here will put together some strategies, put them before the city council, and the city council will make that decision to either put more resources or to give us the ability to fix those things. So again, thank you so much for being here, for making yourselves be available, and we're all ears. Thank you.
Armando, I just wanted to let you know, I forgot to tell you today that our fire chief is deployed on the Brea fire in Orange County right now, putting out that fire. He'll be back probably on Wednesday. So,
well, thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you for that, Armando. I think the way that we're going to get going is we received some questions in advance. people that are our most pressing questions. I'm going to go over the top 5 questions that we get on a repeated basis, and then we'll open up the floor to live questions and other questions that were sent in. So the first one, the main one that we get is, especially in District 2, is what is the status of Central Park, the projects there, including the Paloma Bridge and the amphitheater. So we're very excited about all the enhancements being made to Central Park. It's going to be a great centerpiece for our community. The parking lot has already been completed and has already been proven to be a great asset. Just this last Friday night, they hosted the Menifee Trading Post event at the park. We also recently welcomed a new clock that was donated by the Rotary Club of Menifee. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to see that yet, but it's a very nice component right in front of the city's Christmas tree. So excited about that as well. The Paloma Wash Bridge is expected to be completed this spring and will be supported by additional turf replacement and tree installations at the park to further beautify it. The actual amphitheater itself is expected to be completed by the end of this year. Is that still on track for that? Yes? All right, great. The second question that we receive a lot is, what is the status of the Bradley Bridge project and when will it reopen? I know that's been difficult for a lot of people. Being closed for a year is less than ideal, but they're making good progress on that. It's a very important project to ensure that that vital north-south connection is able to be maintained, not impacted by the flooding, and allowing vehicles and emergency responders to travel safely all year long. Earlier this month, crews successfully placed 845 cubic yards of concrete for the stem, the vertical walls, and the underside of the bridge deck structure that form its core foundation. This is an important progress phase representing a critical step in the overall construction sequence and reflects strong progress toward reopening this fall. Still on track for this fall as well? All right. So this year is going to be exciting between the amphitheater, Bradley Bridge opening. We've got some great things coming. Another hot topic item is, what is the city doing about e-bike enforcement? Yes, I hear some yeses there in the audience, right? So the city, and I don't know if we'll do it now. You want to talk on that now, Chief? I know there's been an ordinance that's been adopted, and the Chief is doing a lot with his team to make sure that these things are tracked. You want to hit that first?
Yeah, if you
please
would
Chief,
like.
Thank you.
Good evening again. Yeah, e-bikes is a priority for the department. We have brought, and the City Council approved, an ordinance that helps us regulate some of the laws when it comes to e-bikes. First, I guess the first thing I would say is there's a definite distinction between e-bikes and e-motorcycles. There are 3 classifications of e-bikes, and then there's an e-motorcycle. Really, you can tell an e-motorcycle apart because they don't have pedals. They actually look like a dirt bike. These things cost between $4,000 and $5,000, and parents are buying them like hotcakes for their kids, and they're riding them all over the place. If I had to sit here and give you a number, we've probably impounded 15 or 20 of them because they're just simply not legal to be on the road. And you have to have a license. You can get them registered through the DMV. However, that is usually for off-highway vehicle parks, still not the roadway. To be on the roadway, they would have to have different tires. They would have to have blinkers and a headlight and brake lights and all those things. So we do, when we find those individuals riding those, we do take enforcement action. Education is also a priority for us. We're working with our schools for e-bike safety courses. We have one coming up. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the date, but it's coming up soon, and we actually partnered with our local Chick-fil-A. And those kids that participate and successfully pass that program, they're going to get an ice cream cone from Chick-fil-A. So it's really a team effort throughout the community. There are some assembly bills that are going through as well that will help us with enforcement, and the city supports those. Really defining, adding laws to put an ability to hold those kids accountable, also the parents accountable. I'm sure most people have seen the recent news article in Orange County where someone was killed from an e-bike rider. Orange County District Attorney's Office is pressing charges against the parents because that kid had prior instances of being on that bicycle or e-bike and should not have been. So our district attorney's offices regionally and in the area are on board with those things. Like I said, we try to balance education with enforcement, and we want to, allow people to have fun, but it has to be safe to do so. So a Class 3 bicycle, e-bicycle, you have to be 16 years of age. There's a lot of regulations. Our officers do try to stop individuals when they're riding the e-motorcycles. However, we most of the time, almost always, are not going to pursue those bicycles because it creates a danger for them and us and the community for what amounts to an infraction. But we will always attempt to stop them. We have in-car cameras in our car, so we can look at that video once we turn on our lights to activate the camera, and we can utilize that to send it out department-wide and try to identify the rider. So our DFR program, Drone as a First Responder, technology, the city has invested heavily in technology within the police department. And we had a social media post that we put out a couple of weeks ago where we had a call of a group of e-bike riders riding throughout the roadway. One of our pilots happened to be available to go launch our drone. They were able to get overhead because typically what happens is they scatter everywhere and they go places where our cars can't get, and even sometimes our motor officers can't get. So by the time we get there, they're gone. But in this case, because of the technology, we were able to be overhead and see exactly where they were going, and we were able to cut their paths off and found the juvenile that was responsible for the vandalism. He had broke off a mirror of a car, and he was placed under arrest, and bikes were impounded and all that stuff. So it is a priority for us, but it was mentioned, I believe, by the city manager a few moments ago. We love and absolutely rely upon our partnership with the community, and so if you see those things occurring somewhere, please don't hesitate to call. Even if you don't think it's a life or death situation. What I can promise you is we're always going to respond. What I can't promise you is that we're not on priority calls and we're able to get there right away, but we will always respond to those calls. So it's never a bother. We rely on you to keep us. It's the extra eyes in our partnership we value tremendously. So there are another assembly bill that's going through, and hopefully it passes. Again, we support it, but it'll put some onus on the sellers, the manufacturers, and distributors of those e-motorcycles to educate and sign things telling the parents and the kids that they are not allowed to be on the road. Because right now, someone will sell a bicycle to a juvenile or a parent and then gives it to a juvenile, and they don't know the difference. I believe there's some parents may not care, they might know, but we honestly believe in some of the interactions that we've had with parents that it's just a lack of knowledge. They truly don't know that those things aren't street legal. So that's where our education comes in, and then if it happens again, then we work towards enforcement. So we're doing what we can. We'll continue to put our best foot forward to help regulate the dangers that they have posed in the community, really for their safety too, but the broader community as a whole. Yes, ma'am.
I was in the 90 for the dollar store one day, and as I walked in, I could hear all these kids screaming. I went around the corner and almost got knocked down by kids that were on the electric scooter. And I went up to the front and I asked these guys, I said, did you call the police or anything like that? And so I asked them, I said, did you call the police? And they said, it won't do any good because the time the police get here, the kids are going to be gone. And the kids we were little hellions when I was growing up, too. You get to be teenagers and you think you're really cool and stuff. These guys were real jerks, and they could care less. And they almost plowed several people down, and as they started laughing, they took off, went out in the parking lot, and were cutting off cars. So.
Yeah, I totally understand that sentiment. Like I said, the only thing I would say is I would encourage everybody to call. Because we will respond, and who knows, maybe one of our officers are in the parking lot and able to catch up to them. We could be just around the corner. We could be tied up, but call.
Yeah.
The other thing that it does for us is it gives us data, because if we get a certain amount of calls in a particular area at a particular time, then we can deploy our resources during those times and be more strategic about it in times and days that we're more likely to run into kids like that. So it gives us that data, too. So the call, even if we're not able to catch up to them that day, we can utilize that for future deployments of resources.
I asked the store, I said, why don't you call the police? And they said, they'll be long gone. And my response was, how do you know they're going to be long gone? They're little hoodlums. They're going to be zipping around the parking lot. And you know what? police officer may happen to pass one or two of them as they're
Sure.
taking off on their little scooters. That's my spiel. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you for the question, Debbie. And thank you, Chief, for that answer. We really appreciate that. And thank you for bringing up the drone as a first responder program. I know that's something I was going to ask you about, and we're very excited about, so I'm glad to see that it's being utilized by the department. What's everybody?
Can you wait? Let's go through the presentation, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you, Richard. And Chief, one last question on that. You mentioned education versus enforcement, right? Starting with education before moving to enforcement. Is there actual impounding or towing of these e-bikes happening?
Yes. Not so much for the actual e-bikes themselves, but e-motorcycles. Yes, we are able to impound those, and for them to get them back, they have to go to the DMV, and at the minimum thing they have to do is register them as an off-highway vehicle. It has to be registered before they can get them back, and then they have to pay a release fee. They have to pay pound storage fees, so it can add up. And we don't see a lot of repeat customers when it comes to that, because a parent having to pay an additional $500, $600, $700 to get the bike out after going to the DMV and maybe waiting 4 or 5 hours to get that process done. It definitely discourages them, and so which is fortunate. But yes, we are in fact towing them, and sometimes I remember on one occasion we even posted it. I think we towed 3 of them at the same time, and they'll fit on the flatbed real nice.
Great, thank you. I do want to mention that we didn't mention it earlier, but I see now that our acting mayor is here and walking around, so I want to appreciate you for the support of being here. He already had his first town hall meeting, so he's coming to see how the competition's doing, I think. But it's good to see you there, acting mayor. Our actual mayor is still deployed, and that's why he's not present, but our acting mayor is here, and we're in good hands in the meantime. The next couple of questions revolve around a very important component of District 2, Quail Valley, so I want to address those. The first one we've been hearing about is what is the status of the Quail Valley Park? So we're very excited that the city received a land donation of just over 10 acres to put in a new nature theme park, the first park in Quail Valley owned by the city. It's anticipated to include natural walking trails, interactive play areas, gathering spaces, and outdoor-inspired playground equipment. It's going to be an amazing asset for the community, and we appreciate all of those who attended the community meetings last fall. The park is currently in the design phase, and we anticipate breaking ground by the end of this calendar year. So yet another exciting project coming this year to the city. And then finally, regarding Quail Valley as well, is an update on the EMWD septic to sewer program. So the EMWD is currently in the process of designing a sewer system that will serve sub-area 4 of Quail Valley. To help move the project forward, EMWD needs signed commitment letters from at least 80% of the property owners in sub-area 4 to make the grant funding application more competitive when it's submitted as early as this fall. These letters show legislators that the interest and support the community has for the project. If you are a resident and can submit a letter, we highly encourage you to do so. There's a link that we can give you. It's www.emd.org/Quail Valley. But please come up and speak to us about that afterwards if you have not already signed a letter and have questions or are interested in doing so. So those are the top 5 questions that we have. I think at this time we'd like to open it up to the floor for further questions, and I think Phil also has some that were submitted online. Where do we want to start? We have Richard in the queue.
All right, thanks. I'm Richard Melrose, live in Quail Valley, and mine is more of a comment based on secondhand information related to e-bikes. Not necessarily e-motorcycles at all, but e-bikes in general. And that is somebody who knows very well said that Murrieta has a program through their school where they have, in order to be able to bring their e-bike to school, they have to have a sticker that's assigned by the school. And if they are caught doing this or that or the other that's against their rules, either on the campus or even cited outside, that they lose the ability. They'll take that registration sticker. they won't be able to bring it to school. And it seems like that would be a good incentive for younger people to act right when they're on their bike. And I was just wondering if we're considering something like that in our school district.
So we have had conversations with all three of our school districts, and that program specifically has been mentioned, and so we're working through with the administrators to see if we can get that off the ground, up and running. What I can tell you is we are doing the education in the schools on e-bike safety, running the e-bike safety course. The other thing our school resource officers do is they look in the cages where they put the bikes and lock them up for the day, and if we see any of those e-motorcycles, we have a conversation with the administrators. They're not allowed to take those until a parent comes, and then they're educated on not being able to ride those to school. And if it shows back up, then we'll impound it, because obviously it had to ride on a public roadway to get to the school. So the specific program that you're referring to, we are having communications with the various school districts and trying to put something like that together. But ultimately, the school district has to approve that and be willing to support that, to do that with their kids. Yeah, I agree.
Thank you for that question, Richard. And I agree. I think the police department is working diligently with the school districts in order to try to get that through. So hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. Do we have additional questions here live in the audience? Henry, please.
Thank you. I'm Henry Herrera, resident of Audie Murphy Ranch, and I spoke to you, council member. Thank you for responding and helping me address my concerns regarding the crosswalk at the intersection of Murphy Ranch Road and Rustler Way. But I did want to follow up with the Director of Public Works. The last email I got from him was back in October regarding the study of that intersection and Murphy Ranch Road between Murrieta Road and Newport Road, where a lot of folks cut through and speed through that entire road. My concern is primarily related to that intersection where my kids and I cross every morning on our way to school, and a lot of cars don't stop completely. I have seen the police department at that intersection with the motorcycle police officers that have been helping with that. But the concern continues to be the intersection and cars proceeding as we're crossing the street in the crosswalk within the school zone. Part of the problem seems to be that the drivers going east are blinded by the sun in the morning, and other car drivers are just not paying attention. A lot of them proceed to drive through the intersection as we're crossing, and so they stop in the middle once they see us, or we have to run to avoid getting hit. I read a story not too long ago about a child that was hit in another city here in the LA area, and I'm trying to prevent something from occurring there. Since I moved to Audie Murphy, there has been a stop sign installed at that intersection. Since my initial email back in October, there were lights installed around the perimeter of the stop sign. But I believe more needs to be done in that intersection. Another concern is the speeding on that road. Yesterday I saw that the city of Coachella, who is also serviced by CAL FIRE, recently installed speed bumps where the fire truck can go through the speed bump in the middle of the road without having to stop. And I was wondering if that's something that the city might consider installing here in the city of Menifee. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Henry. And I'm glad you've been getting some interaction from staff and from myself. As we discussed, right, my daughter and I walk through that same exact intersection every morning going to school. And you did mention, some police presence there. Officer Clay lives in the same neighborhood there, and he's one of the motor officers that is there frequently as well. But Nick, do you want to mention on any potential study for that area?
Yeah, and we've been working on that intersection. Like Henry had mentioned, we'd added the bands around the stoplights or the stop signs to help add some additional reinforcement there. But we are also doing a comprehensive speed survey throughout the city, and we did include that street. It has been studied. We're working through the final documentation. They've done all the traffic counts and speed surveys. So our consultants are currently finalizing all the documents for that, and we'll be bringing recommendations to council probably later this summer as we work through all those. But it has been included with several street segments throughout the city because, as you're aware, there's a lot of new street segments that we've added over the last couple of years, and so we'll be incorporating that. So hopefully within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll bring that to council for consideration.
Thank you, Nick. That's great news. And Chief, do you want to talk about enforcement at all, or you feel that we're good at this point?
Yeah, I can.
Around schools specifically,
I
right?
can certainly give you my thoughts on enforcement and our traffic unit. You know, we utilize calls and concerns from the community to deploy our resources and our specifically around the schools. I think is a pretty consistent. You'll see motors in and around the schools. You know, one thing I would say is that, again, is teamwork. It's a shared responsibility, because oftentimes when we go to a stop sign that is being complained about where people aren't stopping all the way, what we tend to find out, and I'm not saying this is you, sir, but what we tend to find out is a lot of the people that are stopped for running the stop signs are individuals that live in that neighborhood. And so that's where the education comes in. And our officers don't always write citations. They write written warnings on occasion. But we'll continue to do our part, and again, just keep feeding that information to us. We have 2 methods in which you can, we have a traffic complaint at menifeepolice.org. It's an email address that goes directly to our traffic team that's checked daily. We also have a traffic hotline, and that number is 951-723-1690. You can leave a message there, and that is checked also. But we take it seriously, and we'll continue to do our best. But please continue to call in, and the expectation is for our officers to be out there and making sure that we're trying to make our roadways safer.
Thank you, Chief. I think we have a question up front. He's bringing the mic to you.
This would be the time to discuss it, if it would be the time to discuss it or not, but I have an interest in possibly supporting bringing in my name is Rita Peters, by the way, bringing in a substation for the Menifee Police. I've lived here for 40 years, and I cannot tell you what a difference their presence makes in law enforcement. The word is spread immediately that they're in town. There's no more, like you say, the dirt bikes and all the off-road vehicles running around illegally on the properties. And it's pretty quiet in the drug world because the word is out that they're in town. And I really think that if there's a possibility that the old fire station could possibly be made into a substation. I understand there are problems with it, but there's not problems. There's always challenges. There's grant writing that can be done. I mean, I ran an after-school program for 13 years and ran it off grant money. So grants can be written, and I have people, Canyon Heights is backing this 100%. And a lot of people in Quail Valley on both the pages that I've posted it on are very interested. And there's a possibility we can get, the income status. We could go door to door to find out the income status if that has to be brought forward. I just think it could really be a community effort that would benefit the community.
Thank you, Rita. Definitely. I know we've looked into, I myself have pushed for, and we've looked into the possibility of a substation in Quail Valley. I'm sure there's somebody on staff who wants to address what the feasibility of that looks like and how we might make progress towards that.
Thank you for the question, and certainly we're always looking at our facilities and what we can do for the best use of them. Right now, there would be a need to do significant level of improvement for us to activate that site for staff use, and so that's something that we're evaluating as part of our broader facility development over time, but it's not something that would be an easy fix for us at this point in time. We would need to do upgrades for ADA requirements and a whole host of other improvements. So it is a financial commitment and something that we'll be looking at as we look at expansion, but not something that we'll probably be able to do in the near term.
Can I add something? I think it's challenging now, right? But it's not one of those things we can never do it, right? We do have a significant number of challenges with that facility. It's on septic. The septic fails. It doesn't meet any of the code requirements that normally government agencies are required to follow to have employees in there. So we would have to invest a significant amount of money, and I'm talking millions of dollars, to be able to bring it up to a standard that where we can have employees and the facility could be used. However, it is a city-owned facility and a facility that we can, as more funds become available, continue to assess, right? And it could be in the next couple of years, maybe the better economic times where we can have more revenues to be able to do that. I'm not saying it's never, but it's challenging now, and we're going to continue to assess that.
The other possibility is the Boys and Girls Club, because that's been vacant. They came into town with the idea that the community would be able to afford daycare at the prices that they put out, and they can't. This is a very poor community, and that building is vacated also. So there's a possibility right there. Work something out with the Boys and Girls Club.
We consider that facility for that purpose, but again, it doesn't meet any of the development standards that are in place today. The City Council did allow the Santa's Workshop to use the storage component of it as storage for that. And this is basically all we can do with it now, serve as storage for non-habitable space. But we are talking to the Boys and Girls Club about alternate facilities anywhere in some other part of the city. I don't know that we have a plan that we can reveal today because we're still assessing it, but we are talking to them, and we are very hopeful that we're going to be able to find solutions for them.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Richard, go ahead.
On the same topic. On the very same topic, as some of you know, we used to have a monthly meeting, public meeting in Quail Valley. We've changed it to a quarterly. But that is by far the biggest thing that keeps coming up over and over and over. Why can't we use the old Station 5? And I know we hear, that there's this problem, but we never hear that anybody is seriously working on the problem. So, we've heard the asbestos thing, we've heard the septic part, the ADA, but we never hear anybody get back with us. We're really looking at it seriously, and I wish you would look at it seriously, because that's a big deal in Quail Valley. Like Rita said, you've got all this stuff going on, and when an officer comes into Quail Valley, word spreads. I mean, there's some sort of a system there that they've got. The ones that are always breaking the law, they know when an officer's there, and it just seems like, they run our stop sign in front of our house so much. And then when we had the sheriff deputies, we even invited them to sit in our driveway, which is kind of obscured from certain directions. But man, when they're around, everybody's stopping, even ones that we know usually run through it. Somehow there's a grapevine.
I can tell there's an officer in the area because they start stopping. Otherwise, they don't stop at all.
So if we had a substation in the area, and the four-wheelers and stuff, they treat that like they're out in the wilderness. They don't treat it like people's homes where we try to sleep, or if someone's sick, they need to have some peace, or if they're recording something with their job. I mean, it just destroys all that. And they don't treat it like people's neighborhood where they live. And so if we had a substation there, it would change the dynamic so much. I'm 100% sure.
The real danger is the roads are so. That's why they're one way and everything, because the roads are dangerous as they are. So when you get these off-roaders and everybody racing up and down, going the wrong way and every which way, it's very dangerous.
Quads, dirt bikes, and razors.
Yes.
You swear they think they're on vacation. They brought their razor into Quail Valley just to ride the hills and the streets.
Right. Thank you, Rita, Richard, and Sandy. Thank you for bringing that up. I want you to know that it is actively being looked at. Both myself and our mayor have actively been pushing for progress towards that. So it is something that staff is looking at, continuing to look at, and working towards. I know I've had discussions, too, with the police department about the actual criminal activity in Quail Valley, and it's actually, as much as you see all that activity going on, right, from my discussions, it is actually somewhat of a lower crime area within the city. It's not the hotbed of crime in the city. Is that correct, Chief?
No, I mean, certainly there's calls for service out there, but it's not our busiest section of the city by any stretch. Related to the off-highway vehicles, I don't know if you know where any of these individuals live, if you believe they live over there or one of your neighbors. But what I would say, I'm not saying to follow them, but if you know where they're pulling into the garage, please call, because we may not be able to contact them writing, but we will certainly stop by and pay a visit and have a good conversation with them about what's appropriate and what's not. So.
But the other thing is they're shooting up bullets in the air. They don't have any idea that they have to come down somewhere. They're in their yard shooting off bullets, and the kids are running around.
Yeah,
what comes up has got to come down, and that's very dangerous. So that has minimized when the police are in town.
Yes, and if that's happening, please call 911, and we will get there just as soon as we can. And in the meantime, I've taken notes, and our officers do visit Quail Valley frequently and drive up and down, Getz Road and up there through the grid and all that, and we'll continue to do that. But I appreciate that you recognize that when we're there. So they're doing enforcement stops. We have automatic license plate readers on Getz as well that help us, solve crime whenever crime occurs. So we'll even illegal dumping and things like that. So we'll continue those efforts for sure. But please, if those types of things are happening, always call.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief. I think Debbie.
Adam.
They're going to bring you a microphone, Debbie.
We're actually recording this, so we really need you to use the mic.
Okay, you can hold it. So when I was running the Quail Valley Volunteer Fire Department, okay, and I had that big building over there, and my son and several people, they were stationed at the old Forestry Service station, which became Quail Valley Station 5. When we closed all that down because we became a city, I donated the property to the Boys and Girls Club because of a couple of reasons. A lot of Hispanics live back in that area, and their grandparents walk the kids to the Quail Valley School and back and forth. And I thought that would be a great place when they picked them up. Afterwards, they could take them to the Boys and Girls Club until the school, their parents got home. And unfortunately, the septic failed. So there's nothing that can be done. And believe me, I tried when I gave up all that property to make it really count. And I know that someday it will. Unfortunately, it's not now. So that's it.
Good.
Thank you for that, Debbie. And I think the main takeaway from this discussion, Chief, is please call. Keep calling, right? The police department will respond. The more info they have, the more that they can work with to be out there. Phil, we have another question. David, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben, for being here and for staff for being here. We really appreciate your time tonight. I wanted to ask about economic development along Newport in our district from Town Center to Murrieta. There's a lot of vacant. I know there's some things in works, but I wonder if we could get an update on what's happening.
Thank you for that, David. Kayla, do you want to address what's going to go into those vacant lots on Newport?
Sure. Not every piece has a plan at this time, but of course Newport Road is one of the most highly coveted corridors in the entire region. We do have some activity along that stretch. We have Planet Fitness that is processing plans right now going right next to Sprouts. So in the Center Point Plaza, going to be filling in that vacant site right next to Sprouts. And then as we go down, there's some vacant lots that we're trying to attract development to. And then, of course, the Menifee Town Center, where the former movie theater was, the city council had the initiative to take down the walls, and as it was a public nuisance. But As of right now, the movie theater owner still owns it, and we are trying to work with another developer that's looking at the project, doing some due diligence. So we are working actively to try to attract development into that area. We have seen a lot of new businesses come into our community. Recently, I hope you guys have all had a chance to visit La Bufadora, which is over off of Getz Road. And then you'll see that we have a hotel almost completing construction over off of the I-15 and Antelope Road. So that will be a Hampton Inn and Suites. We're really excited about that. We have some new restaurants coming in. We have Richie's Diner, which is processing plans over near Barron's Road, which is in the same shopping center as that Hampton Inn. And over in the Countryside Marketplace, we are processing plans for Nick the Greek, Laser Away. So we're seeing a lot of new businesses coming into there. Over off of McCall, we have the McCall and Menifee Road, McCall Square Shopping Center that's actively still working. So we have Baskin Robbins that is still processing plans in that location. We recently opened up Chipotle, 7-Eleven, Starbucks. And then we recently have been, Stater Brothers has submitted plans for that site as well. So we have a lot of activity. We are still seeing a lot of development come in. We recently approved at the, and then we also, on that side, Newport and Bradley recently approved Denny's for that side of the freeway as well. And then on the medical side, we recently approved Kaiser Permanente over off of Encanto Road, which is over on the northern end, which is a medical office building. And we have Neighborhood Healthcare is also processing for a medical office building over on McCall and Bradley. As well as, I think it was last month at our Planning Commission, we just approved Menifee Boardwalk, which is not on that side of the Newport corridor, but on the other side. So we have some exciting tenants coming into that shopping center. Some of them are the Learning Experience, Cold Stone, 10 Second Noodle, which will be a new one for the region, as well as, which one am I missing? Yes. Grocery Outlet, EOS Fitness, and I think the Learning Experience. So that project was facing some challenges with getting their financial packages put together. So it was on hold for quite some time, but we've been told by the developer that he's picking it back up and moving it forward. So we should be seeing it start to move through the pipeline here pretty soon, which we're very excited about.
Don't forget, recently Dutch Bros just got approved at Planning Commission.
That is a great point. Yes.
Sorry.
No, that's a great point.
Thank you for that, Brian. I was going to ask you for an update on Dutch Brothers, and then also in District 2, Costco. Do we want to mention any updates on Costco?
Yes. So it's been circling social media, so I feel like it's no secret. Costco has been doing some due diligence in Menifee. It's very, very, very early in the process. We're not quite to the point where we are ready to shout it from the rooftops and celebrate that they're coming to the city, but they are doing some due diligence. They are doing some minor investing with processing an application. So we're hopeful that they'll be landing in Menifee, and once it gets a little bit farther down the process, we will be very excited to be welcoming them to our community.
Great, thank you for that, Kayla. Thank you. Oh, yes.
So how come we can't get it cleaned up in the shopping center in Sun City? There's vacant bank buildings, there's a vacant Rite Aid, homeless. Everything is on Newport Road, and Newport Road is a disaster when it comes to traffic. People I'm a long-term resident. I'm sick of Newport Road. And everything is on Newport Road. How come we can't get that cleaned up over there?
So I feel like there's a couple different pieces, and we may need to kick it to different parts of our team over here. But the bank building, I believe, is city-owned, so I'll kick that over to Nick. But the Rite Aid building, I can speak to. So that Rite Aid building is obviously privately owned. There is multiple interested parties that are looking to go into that building. They're just trying to find the right tenant into it. So that will be filled. There's no lack of interest for it. We send him interested parties all the time. He's just trying to find the right deal to get into the building. And then as far as the homeless, I'll also defer that to the acting chief. So I'll turn it over.
Let me add something. This is Armando Hernandez, Community Development Director. One of the things that's challenging is that we have a shopping center that obviously has been there for a long time, but we have multiple property owners, right? So in order for us to get all the property owners to get together to do, let's say, a facelift to the shopping center, it's very challenging. We have been working in the past with one property owner that owns a good portion of the shopping center, and they want to do some things. So we're hoping that once that property owner moves forward, maybe it will incentivize the other property owners to want to do something, right? So that, I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges, that we have multiple property owners that they're not talking to each other and they don't want exactly the same thing.
There's 13 different in that one shopping center. So we're trying to play with all 13 to get them to...
Before we go to Nick to talk about the bank building, I do want to mention, too, there are quite a few new restaurants and other opportunities in that shopping center. I know my family, myself, we spend more of our dollars and time eating up there in that section than we do down off of Newport. So there are new and exciting things coming in there, and it is, it's still a work in progress, but it is an upcoming gem that I think we will see a lot to go in there. But Nick, do you want to address the bank building?
Yeah, speaking of property owners, we are one of them. We do own the old Bank of America building. We are looking at doing a retrofit to that building, actually going to council next week to remodel a portion of the building. We're remodeling a little less than the east half, almost maybe a third of the building, and that is to relocate an existing police substation that is within the Cherry Hills facility and put it into that building, and then we'll work towards future development of the other half. The project's taken a little bit longer than what we had hoped because it did have a lot of asbestos and lead abatement, so we had to go clear out the whole building. So we went through that process and then started our design process after we basically removed everything within the interior. So that project, like I said, will be awarded at next council meeting, May 6th, and then we'll start construction shortly after that.
Thank you, Nick. I think Mike Knighton, I think you have your hand up, and then maybe David Fest.
You thought I wasn't going to speak? Thank you for having this. I appreciate it. Got a couple things. I'll make it quick. Nick, how many pieces of wood does the amphitheater need that had to be custom made?
I believe it's like 38, somewhere at 38.
And where are they right now?
They're in Switzerland.
So they haven't even gotten a boat yet?
No.
But it's got to be done by the end of the year?
Correct.
All right. It's been 6+ months. Armando, where's our mayor? Where's our mayor? It's been over 6 months since he's been dispatched.
I don't know where he's at. I think he was deployed in a conflict area. We don't know.
Well, I know he's in Kuwait.
We don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that.
If it's been 6 months, has he notified anybody in the city of what his status is? Has anybody reached out to his wife? Because if he's locked down, I don't know how the military works.
Yeah. So we don't have any control of the military plans, right? He's for all practical purposes a federal military employee, and we have to assume that because of the conflict, he's gonna be there until the government doesn't need him anymore, or the U.S. doesn't need him anymore. We are in constant communication every once in a while, but he has not said anything with respect to his comeback. I think we assume that the original deployment schedule was for 6 months, but those things change, and we have no control over those decisions, and neither does he, though, by the way. So, we do have implemented a backup government structure where we have an acting mayor. He's back there. taking responsibilities for the mayor, and we have shored up the continuity of government that we need here to until he comes back.
Okay, thanks. And Brian and Kayla, either one of you guys. The tourism plan, 9 months ago, it was all passed through council. Have we created any new events to bring tourists into Menifee that we can capitalize on their sales tax money? We have a hotel coming up that's going to be opening here shortly. I'd love to see something to bring people into those rooms and sell out. So, quick question. Do we have anything coming up?
Yeah, you want to go?
I can take that. Mariana Mitchell, Community Services Director. I finally get a question. Yeah, exciting for me. So to talk a little bit about the unique identity and the special event, that kind of falls on community services, because we are looking at leveraging our currently existing events and how do we collaborate with some of our existing partners to really capitalize on the excitement happening at Central Park. And so some of those things that we're looking to bring into the future once the amphitheater is complete is coordinating with an event production company that can help us expand some of the higher level entertainment opportunities that the community is really asking for. And so I think once we have all of the moving pieces in place with the completion of the Central Park Amphitheater, the pedestrian bridge, and our partners, we can have more of a enhanced plan of bringing in some of those larger regional level events that both the community and the region is looking for. So that's when we're hoping to hone in on that. But in the meantime, we are looking to continue to build on the excitement of all the things that are currently happening at Central Park with our recent partnership with Made Local, the Menifee Trading Post, bringing that back and having a new home at Central Park. And, you know, once the amphitheater is up and running, then just expanding upon all of those things and taking into consideration the placemaking, tourism, and unique identity master plan.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to acknowledge that plan is in the process of winning an award of excellence from the American Planning Association Inland Empire section, and we're going to be receiving that award next month. So it's the top award in San Bernardino and Riverside counties.
Plus, our independence celebration is going to be bigger and better than ever this year for the sesquicentennial, right?
Semi-quincentennial. Say that 5 times fast. Yes, it's going to be great.
Phil, do we have any questions that we need to answer? I know I see a couple more hands up here in person, but are there any ones we need to get to from that were submitted online?
Yeah, we actually got one for Nick. Obviously, we hit a big milestone with the Holland Overpass, created a really nice east-west corridor to get over the 215. We got some concerns. Weren't any off and on ramps added to that. Sorry, we'll take that back. We know that there are a couple of other interchange projects in the works that might alleviate some of that traffic. Nick, if you could talk about those.
Sure. Thank you, Phil. The Holland Road overpass is classified as an overpass because it is not a full interchange. To make it a full interchange, it would have took out a lot of residential homes on the east side of the I-215, and then there's spacing requirements between interchanges on the I-215. However, we do have several projects in the works, one of them being a new interchange at Garbani Road, which is just a mile south of the Holland Road and a mile north of Scott Road. So it's better situated for the interchange. We are currently in what we call the PA and ED phase, which is a project approval and environmental document phase, very beginning of the design process for the interchange. That's typically like a 2-year process, and then we'll go into construction, final documents, which is another 2 years. So we're anywhere from 4 to 6 years out before we will probably start construction on that project. We do have another project also at McCall Interchange where we'll be widening to the north to expand that to a 6-lane facility to help address some of the growth that's happening in that area. That process is kicking into final engineering, but because we're just wrapping up the PA and ED, we're very close to completing the final engineering or environmental document within the next couple months. And then lastly, we're coordinating with the county and Paris for improvements to the interchange at Ethonac. That is in the very early phases as well. The county is taking the lead. The interchange is all within Paris, but because that's more of a regional interchange, because it supports several cities, Paris only owns the little quadrants, 4 quadrants around it, and then Menifee's on the outsides, and then a lot of county areas supported by that interchange as well. We'll be addressing that one as well.
Great. Thank you, Nick. David, I see another hand up, and then I know we're a little bit past time, so maybe we'll finish on you, David. Hold on for the microphone, please.
This is for Mr. Fiddler again. What is the timeline? Because I can't remember with the Holland-Murrieta interchange and also widening Murrieta up to Newport.
You're talking about the Holland and Murrieta intersection?
Intersection,
yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we are currently in a design project to widen Murrieta Road from roughly Craig Avenue all the way up to Newport. So we're at a 30% design level. That's a very large project. It's going to require a lot of additional right-of-way. It's got a significant amount of cultural sensitive areas throughout it. There's a lot of rock outcroppings. So it's a long-term project that we're working through. We are looking at different types of intersection models, because if everybody's aware, Holland Road is kind of offset as you come through Murrieta. The east side is 200-300 feet north of the west side as you cross over. So we've looked at a couple potentials or alternatives for roundabouts to help it facilitate those movements, or 2 separate traffic signals. The roundabouts, if we're looking at the traffic modeling, they tend to work a little bit better. So that's something right now that we're analyzing as part of the 30% submittal of design. That we have to kind of lock that in, because when we start doing that type of evaluation, it changes the footprint. So then we have to start looking at the right-of-way and the impact. So we have to look at it kind of holistically before we move to the next step. We have a smaller project that will add a right turn deceleration lane for people going southbound to westbound, because that gets a lot of traffic for the schools that are just to the west of Murrieta. So that one is kind of a little gap filler. That's a smaller project that we're in design as well. It's a smaller, easier project to accommodate, just to give us a little bit more time to continue to work through the widening project.
Thank you, Nick. And while you're on the hot seat, can I ask you one more question in the district? So
you better be getting paid overtime.
An update on the Scott Road widening. I know Wildemar is working on Bundy Canyon.
So the Scott Road widening, we are in the PA and ED phase again on that project. We are working hard right now with Caltrans. We do have some federal funding that we're trying to make sure we meet time frames for. So our goal is to complete the environmental document by June this year, and then put in the request for authorization to proceed with the next phase, which would be right-of-way and final engineering. We are currently at a 60% design complete for that project. We had to stop it because we ended up getting federal funds, and we needed to, now we'll re-engage to take it from 60 to 100 and also acquire the right-of-ways necessary to complete the project. In regards to the Bundy Canyon Wildemar project, they have a resurfacing project that they're working on right now. We're trying to coordinate with them to actually do a portion of Bundy Canyon, which is in the city. So we've been negotiating with Wildemar and their contractor to try to piggyback onto their contract to resurface some of the roadway in the meantime. So we're still working through that efforts.
Great. Thank you for that update, Nick. Well, I think we've run out of time at this point, so I want to thank you all for being here. Is there anybody that has any final words that they want to wrap up on that we don't think we addressed?
If I may, Councilmember, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time again to be here, and I want to encourage you to be ambassadors for the city. You know, if you notice something, if you have concerns, please do reach out to us. Our PD, our community services, our city hall. You know, we are very accessible to our city's website. We even have a city app where you can report things. Let us know so that we become aware and address those issues. And I would encourage you to talk to your neighbors, talk to anybody you know about how approachable the city is. The council is making big strides to make sure that we are accessible to the public, right? We keep growing as a city, and we keep onboarding new residents to our city, but we want to be a city where you guys run your city, right? You tell us what we need to fix for you. We do a lot of surveys to find out what the community needs, and we do a lot of studies, and we've done a lot of reports that tells us where we need to be, right? On the issue of traffic, I mean, the city council has made significant investments in traffic relief, over $25 million a year to relieve traffic congestion, to improve our streets. That's a commitment the city council made because they're very concerned with the quality of life. But we have over $1 billion worth of projects to complete for our city. That's billion with a B, right? So with a budget of $120–30 million, it's going to take us 10 years. If we spend nothing but road money, we would take 10 years to construct everything we need. So be patient, but we really want to hear from you. We really want to hear from our community. This is the reason why we're having these community workshops, is to be more approachable, to get you closer to your government and express, concerns. And I thank the council members for allowing us to do this, and they take the time to be here with you guys. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you all. And I want to appreciate all of you for being here. And I would urge you, if you ever feel that you're not making headway or you feel you're not being heard, please reach out to your council members. Myself, we're here to represent you. Acting mayor, he's here to represent you, and the other two as well. And our mayor, who hopefully will be back from his deployment soon. We're all here to represent you. So please reach out to us. We're here to help. So thank you.